Hey chess friends, National Master James Canty III here with Chess.com, and today we have Game of the Day with Tata Steel Chess 2021. With the white pieces we have Andrey Esipenko, and with the black pieces we have Magnus Carlsen. Let's get right into it, guys. Here we go. E4, C5, Knight F3, D6, D4, snap snap, Knight F6, Knight to C3, and A6, another one, another Najdorf Sicilian. How many times have we seen this one? Well, let's see what this variation is going to be. After A6, there's Bishop E2 from Esipenko instead of Bishop G5, like we've seen many times already. Bishop E2, very flexible move, not saying what we're going to do yet. And Magnus responds with E6 instead of E5, which is a traditional Najdorf move here. Now, E6 is more Scheveningen variation here, actually, which is a variation that Garry Kasparov used very frequently and very good, actually, in his later years after using the Najdorf. Now after E6, there's Bishop to E3, keeping the development going. Black says Bishop to E7 for Magnus here. If you're going to develop, I'm going to develop too, and even try to prepare to castle here. After Bishop E7, Esipenko says, hey, you know what? Before you castle, let me give you this real quick. G4. G4, what a move here, actually. Just saying, hey, if you castle, you might be castling right into an attack here. So you might want to be careful before you castle, maybe do something else. And Magnus obliges and says, you know what? Okay, B5. Hey, you know, whoever gets to the king first on opposite side castles is usually going to win, but I want to be here at the party as well. B5, one of the moves that you usually use in the Najdorf Sicilians, Scheveningens, and of course A6 Sicilians. But Queen C7, Knight D7, Bishop B7, this is all common stuff, theory that you usually use in this opening. B5 from Magnus, and G5 immediately here from Esipenko. He says, we're just going for it. We're going to get as close as we can. So if you castle, you could be in a lot of trouble. So here's G5, and then Knight F to D7, the common move that usually happens in the G4 variations of the Najdorf. Usually if you see an early H3 and G4, one of the best ways to combat it is actually what Magnus is doing right here. Knight F to D7, following with a development of the queen side first, all of the queen side, meaning rook to C8, queen C7 or B6 or A5, depending on the position. And you develop the queen side first and figure out what to do with the king later. Sometimes you don't even castle, you just keep the king here. It depends on what's going on. But this is why it's such a fun opening to play, because it's definitely dynamicism from both sides. After Knight F to D7, there's this A3 move, actually just dropping the pawn here, or at least sacrificing it unwillingly. Now, you do have another variation, which is rook to G1, which again deters castling here in many cases. And let's see what happens after rook to G1. There's a B4 move here, which allows Knight to D5 as a move. What is Knight D5? Why would I do this? There's a pawn that could just capture it. Well, this is actually a thematic sacrifice that you see many times in the Najdorf Sicilians, where you put a knight here on D5 just to open up the game. Let's take a look. Knight to D5, E takes D5 instead of just capturing back, which is terrible. Well, we're going to move this knight to F5, very strong square, deterring castling once again. But he says, you know what? Hey, I'm going to castle anyway. What happens? You know, I'm up a piece now. Knight H6 looks cool, but you don't have enough pieces. So actually the best move to make here is queen takes D5. After queen takes D5, there is a rook hanging, but you actually can't even defend it. Rook A7, we're going to just take it. So queen takes D5 and then knight to C5 being one of the best moves. And after knight takes C5, we take our piece back. And then after takes, there is queen takes A8 here. And we actually get some material back. We're feeling great here. We're up in exchange, as white says here. So honestly, white's in the driver's seat there. Well, let's go back real quick. Instead of castles here, let's try another move. Knight to C5, very aggressive in a way. Actually very good as well. Developing, bishop takes F5 being an intention here. But we have this cool sequence, guys. This is why this thematic sacrifice is very strong. After knight takes G7, I mean, this gets wild. King F8. After king F8, there's queen takes D5. Wait, didn't I just sack a piece? Am I sacking another piece? I think so. Queen takes D5, bishop B7, because I'm not taking a rook. And this is still hanging, still hanging. Queen F5, this is still hanging. So he's going to take it. Like, you know what? Hey, I'm going to take the other piece because you gave it to me here. Now, miraculously, guys, this is zeros. It's an equal position, which is crazy. A lot of times in the Najdorf, you do get these crazy positions that end in a draw due to perpetual because of sacrificing material, which is fun, but it ends in a draw many times, or black is not able to defend all the threats. Bishop C4, threatening queen F7 mate. Queen E8, beautiful move. After queen E8, there's G6 on the board. What is this nonsense? G6, I'm just going to take it. Or at least you thought you were. Rook takes G6. Oh my goodness, this is getting out of hand. F takes G6, bishop D4 check. These bishops are monsters here, and we're on a king hunt. Let's just show a few more moves here. Queen check, king G5. There's another check. and then flex real hard and for another check, and then king here and then mate, and we great. Start a new game. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful attack there. King hunt, right? That could definitely happen after the rook g1 move, but that didn't happen. He actually went for a3. This is the move from Esipenko here, stopping b4 from ever happening, but at the same time, sacrificing a pawn for the greater good. Bishop takes g5, and after bishop takes, you could capture, but your queen's on the back rank still, and this gets pretty active, and you can't play rook g1, so Esipenko says queen to d2 instead, preparing castling, attacking the bishop, and I can still play rook g1 in many cases. Bishop takes e3 from Magnus, and then queen takes e3. Beautiful move, of course. This is what we did it for. Queen d2, follow up, consistency, and then queen h4. Queen h4 from Magnus here. Interesting move. You're asking, what does this move actually do? Is he actually attacking anything over here? Actually, no. He doesn't even have a second piece, which you need multiple pieces for successful attacks. He only has the queen over here to do things. But what he's really trying to do, in some cases, could be g5 and queen f4, because castling is happening. So after castling, we will have a g5 probably. e5 is a little bit scary because you do open up the d5 square. So g5 looks like a move followed by queen f4, especially so we can trade queens as quickly as possible. Magnus says, I'm up a pawn. I would love to trade queens. So after g5, queen f4 would be a thing. But after queen h4, rook to g1 from Esipenko, stopping g5 from ever happening, actually. So what does Magnus play? He has a few moves here. Castling looks very scary here. Very scary. Now looks are deceiving. He actually could have castled here. But g6 is the move he chose here. g6, and we understand this. Now it does make a weakness around the king, but at the same time, it does block this file from ever having any kind of trouble anymore. Now they will have to play h4 and f5, f4, f5, h4, h5. It's going to be a while. So g6, yeah, it makes weaknesses around the king. Bobby Fischer says to get squares, you got to give squares. So we give him a few squares just to keep this attack at bay. g6, and then castle queenside from Esipenko says it's time. And then queen e7 from Magnus, I'm going back because my queen has done everything that she can do and I need to defend a little bit. After queen e7, there's f4. Now take a look at white's position. Everything's developed. We're going for our attack here, and black is still trying to catch up. Now it's fairly equal here, but white's definitely the one pushing for more and attacking chances. After f4, there's bishop to b7. We're going to finish development of our queen side here. After bishop b7, king b1. Always good to play king b1 usually. It's just good to have the king in the center when you castle queen side. 9 times out of 10, that's just how it works. After king to b1 here, the best move is actually knight to c5. You would think knight to c6 would just be great. I mean, it's okay, it can be played, but knight c5 and actually castling are the best moves here. Castling looks pretty crazy once again. I mean, it feels like you're casting right into mate almost, but knight to c5 is more realistic, trying to just keep it, you know, hey, we're not going to castle just yet. We want to get our pieces a little bit more active. Knight c5 followed by maybe knight b to d7 or knight to c6 at the right moment. But here's what Magnus did. He played knight to c6, guys. And knight to c6 is not a move. It is a very scary move, actually. Knight to c6, he actually missed Esipenko's idea, guys. Can you find Esipenko's idea? White to move. Here it is. This is what he did, guys. After knight c6, he plays knight cx b5. Oh my goodness. Whoa, that's a move, big fella. That is a move. Knight cx b5. This is a very common thematic sacrifice that you would see, just like the knight d5 ones. It's so much fun sometimes playing from the white side of the knight orf because you're able to do these kind of moves. Knight takes b5 just completely missed by Magnus here. As it's sacking a piece. What do you mean? Like what is this move? Well, he does take it. And then after knight takes c6 here, sometimes you would take on b5 to put the pressure on d6 is what you would think his idea was. But actually his idea was after knight takes. Now queen to c3. Wow, look at that. And what they say is loose pieces lose games. What's loose? Well, loose means undefended. So anything undefended. After g6 here, this was already there. This is an undefended piece. So any other undefended piece hit with a double attack we'll be able to get something back here. Well, Magnus finally says, all right, look, hey, you know what? You got your pawn back? Cool. You can have it. Castle. He gets out of the way. My king's finally castle here. He kind of has to do that. And then queen takes c6, we get our material back. And then this beautiful move from Magnus here, actually, he says, look, I'm not going to sit around and just wait to be attacked. d6 is hanging. You can have it. He plays d5 here. Great move, actually. Beautiful move, as you wouldn't expect anything less from the world champion. d5, he takes d5 here because we're just going to take this pawn. And now, actually, currently right now, we're actually up a pawn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Currently white's up a pawn. So after e takes d5, you would think maybe just captures back or threatening the rook, threatening the queen, which he does. Rook after c8. Beautiful move here. Okay, after rook after c8, there's not many moves for white to make here. You always want to play aggressive if you can and just try to keep the initiative flowing and going in your favor. After rook after c8 hitting the queen, you don't have many squares. Queen takes b5 might run into just more trouble here, and you have a passed pawn in a way, so he just pushes it. Great move here, d6. Now you have two options: move the queen or take this one. Let's see what happens if you take. Captures here, well, you might as well just resign. That's not a move. Start a new game. But let's see what happens. After rook takes c6, we have to take our queen back. Well, now d7 is hanging. Okay, let's just move it. Not a move. Start a new one, big fella. Rook check. That is not it. That's game over on the spot. So that doesn't work. Okay, well, we're going to go back. Well, then actually, what's funny is the best move, believe it or not, guys, one of the best moves was rook a7, which is just not a move because you're just queening here. You're just queening. But then after rook to c7, we have bishop takes b5, hitting the knight. And then rook d8, and we're queening. This is not good. We're into defense. I mean, this pawn's about to queen. Terrible game, right? So he says, oh, I'm not going to take that. I know better. He plays queen to d8 here, actually controlling everything. Pretty nice. The queen can swing over to this side of the board. And for a fraction of a second here, or for a little bit, it actually looks like black is actually attacking white, basically. Black is the one attacking white in many cases here. After queen d8, queen takes b5. Very nice move here. I'm just getting out of the way. And he says, yeah, you know what? I'm going to let you have your attack here. Now, think about this, guys. In games, if you're going to have trades or before you actually reach an endgame, here's the thing to realize and think about. You have to look at the pawn structure. What is the overall endgame going to look like? Check this out. These three pawns are what? All passed. How about this one? A fourth pawn. You got four passed pawns. How many times do you get four passed pawns? Like, what kind of game is that, right? So after queen takes b5, there's rook c to b8, attacking the queen once again. Queen has to go somewhere, so he goes queen to c4. Just staying around this pawn is his idea. Rook takes a3 from Magnus here as he's going to take the pawn, get that pawn back, so now we're down to three passed pawns. Queen to c7. Hey, look, we want to trade as quickly as possible. We would love trades. And Magnus says, no trades today. Not for you, big fella. Queen to e8. And now check this move out right here, guys. Very aggressive move. I actually like it. It's attacking and defense at the same time. It's beautiful, actually. It's just harmonious with the rest of the position. This piece needs to be active, or at least more active. It's pretty active on the g file, but it's even better if it can swing over to the queen side. Rook to g5. Now we want to keep some trades up, because the more that we trade now, white's definitely looking for trades because we have three passed pawns. If we trade off the rest of the pieces, this is game over. Like, I mean, this is going to be over soon if we're able to queen these pawns. So rook to g5, and we live just to swing over to the other side. Rook to g5, and now rook to a4. Beautiful move here. Actually, just getting out of the way. Really, rook to b4 being your thing, and just trying to reroute some pieces. Rook a4, rook a5. We're avoiding trades. We want it to double. So he gets the double here. And now b3, we're not going to let him attack us. This rook is actually trying to help now. We have rook a3 or rook a2, and we're okay. This rook sack doesn't work, so we're doing fine. Now he plays, hey, rook 4 to b7. We have to get this queen out of the way now. This queen's annoying, but look at this position. Stop and look right here. Look, look both ways before you cross the street here. White is actually in the driver's seat in all cases right now. Magnus is just trying to hold here, trying to hold. Bishop f3. Now, if it's anyone to hold this position with black, it will be the world champion, because this is definitely a very ugly looking position. Bishop f3 is coming, three passed pawns, active pieces. Our pieces are only on the 7th and 8th ranks. This is very scary for Magnus. Queen to c3. There's queen to d8 as he's trying to reroute, do some things here, maybe rook to c8 as well, but you got to make some moves. So he plays queen to d8, and we start our attack, says Esipenko. Bishop f3 hitting the rook. The rook is hanging on b7. So what does he do? He just moves it. Rook to b4, attacking f4 at the same time. And now we go back to c7, says Esipenko. Time to penetrate the position. Queen to c7 and queen f6, saying that, okay, we're going to do something. We might even be threatening to sacrifice in some cases. So he says, no, not today, bro. Rook a8. So if you do sacrifice, you won't be able to take twice. Not at all, because you're going to have to trade something. Rook a8, and that one rook is gone. Now after rook takes, bishop takes a8, and then Magnus blunders. He blundered. He is human, half human. The other half, world champion, whatever, right? He's the best chess player in the world, right? But bishop takes a5. He is human as he blunders and plays queen f5. That is not a move here, guys. One of the best moves actually was really knight f8. You had knight b6 and rook b5. All of these are still losing, by the way, but queen f5 was the worst of the losing moves. Queen f5 here. After queen f5, threatening, of course, rook takes b3, being the intention. We play king to b2 to get out of the way, and then rook to b5. And there's really not much else to do here, guys, because there's going to be check on the back rank anyway. I mean, you can't stop this. You can't even defend the knight. If you move the knight, we push it. This is a disaster already, disastrous. Rook to b5, and then we have queen takes d7, attacking the rook. In some cases, of course, well, we can take and then push and push. Pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You literally could sack this queen, but we're not going to do that. He actually just plays, actually after queen takes d7, rook to c5. Then there's rook to c1, defending c2 here. Beautiful move, of course, defending the pawn, so there's no mates or anything. Queen takes f4 from Magnus here. Maybe get some checks off here, but let's see how he finishes this. Esipenko says queen e8 check, king g7, and then d7. And that's it. Magnus resigns. The world champion resigned in this position as Andrey Esipenko walks away today's winner in this exciting game. What a big game from a very young player, strong player at that. That was crazy here, guys. I mean, absolutely amazing attack, starting with g4 early on. So you can take notes there, guys. But this was today's game of the day. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm National Master James Canty III here with Chess.com, and we'll see you guys on the next video.